Hey everybody, welcome to episode 83 of Tuesdays with Perry. I'm going to get Perry on the line in just a second. So of course tonight we're going to be talking about the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, all the new information that's coming out, and what exactly is going to happen with a possible House investigation into the shortfall of security that almost got Donald Trump, the Republican nominee, killed. Couple of thoughts on the Republican National Convention. We're going to talk a little bit about the VP pick for the ticket, J.D. Vance. And we're going to talk some about Elon Musk has come over to our side definitively now. So let's get Perry on the line.
Hello.
Hey, Perry. Welcome to episode 83 of Tuesdays with Perry. How are you doing, my friend?
Rudy, I want to pinch myself. I'm so happy.
A lot of us are feeling pretty good after the start of a very ruckus and jubilant start to the Republican National Convention. A good pick for VP for the ticket, J.D. Vance. We're going to talk a little bit about him. But let's go. I heard you got a lot of information about the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. We have certainly talked quite a bit about Biden putting a bullseye on Donald Trump. We have talked about the feds warning of possible retaliation for the attack on Trump. We've talked about the would-be assassin quite a bit, this 20-year-old supposedly marksman who had been training for this operation, and just the fact that he was able to scale onto a roof in that manner to take shots at Donald Trump. So we're going to talk about this, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Elon Musk. So you have some new information. We all understand that apparently police saw him with a rangefinder 30 minutes before shots fired. And we also know that the rally goers saw him minutes before he started shooting, and a police officer attempted to get onto the roof, saw him, but did not act to stop him. So what kind of information do you have, Perry?
Well, you and I, over the last 3 days, have talked just amongst ourselves about what we have been inundated with from the lame brain media, including Fox, is that it was this kid, he was a marksman, and that's the end of the story. But in fact, if you dig a little deeper, as you have, we have learned that the fact that he's being labeled a marksman is more than likely nothing more than utter folly. And the reason why I say that is because people from his high school have been interviewed. We have since learned that and they did have a rifle club, okay? Contrary to what a lot of people around the country think, especially in rural America, sport hunting is still not only very popular, but very necessary to fill one's freezer. And this kid, when he signed up for the gun club, was kicked out after the very first day of this club by the instructor, because his I don't want to call it accuracy, his ability to point and shoot was so bad, this instructor said, I don't want this kid around the other kids, which leads me to believe he could have been a safety threat. So that was when he was 16. He's only 20 now, which means when he was in high school as a sophomore, basically that was Trump's last year in office. How many 16-year-olds even know who the party leaders of the Republicans and Democrats are at age 16. I did, but I was an oddity. If you talked to any one of my friends from high school, including your better half, she knew who the president and vice president were. If you asked her at age 16, well, what party do they represent? She would say, what's a party? And so this kid has no clue of having factual information about Donald Trump as president. All he knows is what social media and the lame brain media have spoon-fed him, and maybe his FBI handler through the internet was feeding him. So you put these facts together, and then we have the question about the shots being fired, how you pointed out. I loved how you broke it down yesterday for your listeners. The echoes and everything else, and laying it out with the charts. And so you and I have been kicking around privately. Not that it had to be, but it just the situation that took place in Butler, Pennsylvania, leads itself to kind of what happened at Daley Plaza 61 years ago. And that is, there had to be more than one shooter. And so the information that I got today from someone who is very high up in Republican Party politics informed me that the federal government has been on alert for the past several weeks to watch out for something coming from the Iranians. Now, why would the Iranians want to take out Donald John Trump? Well, you got to go back and look at his first administration and what he was able to accomplish. And what a lot of people don't understand about Donald Trump's foreign policy in the Middle East is he was able to successfully isolate the Iranians. 7 Arab nations signed a peace treaty with the Israelis. He moved the American embassy in Israel to Jerusalem. That was a direct affront to the mullahs and the ayatollahs in Iran. And that put them on their heels. Fast forward to Saturday. My friend informed me that there's someone, and I forgot about this person, and she had to remind me, of Persian descent. And who are the Persians? The Iranians. That is in the White House to this day, right by Joe Biden's side. And she was right by Barack Hussein Obama's side. Matter of fact, she was his foreign policy director. She was the one who steered Obama into all those things he did for the Iranians, beginning with giving them the green light to go ahead and keep working on building their own atomic bomb. And in addition to that, gave them $150 billion in cold green cash, which couldn't go directly from our printing mills at Fort Knox and directly into the hands of the Ayatollahs in Tehran. It had to first go to Europe and be converted to euros and then delivered as euros to the Iranians because it would have violated U.S. security protocol. The Iranians weren't allowed during those years to have, and as far as I know, still aren't allowed to have American dollars. But yet they were given another, I'm trying to remember, what was it, $6 billion by Uncle Joe in the past year and a half, right? So She has been steering behind the scenes. She has been steering foreign policy for the United States of America since 2009 when it comes to the Iranians. And this is part of the reason why Biden refused to give Trump additional Secret Service personnel leading into Saturday. He now has it, but he didn't before. And so when you look at how crooked Valerie Jarrett is and how she has never given a fuck about this country, everything she has ever supported has weakened this country. You have to wonder, that second shooter that you and I have talked about in theory, wouldn't it be perfect to have him set up? And again, this is nothing but conjecture on our part, okay? I don't have any proof except for listening to the gunfire. This guy was a sharpshooter from the Iranian Guard, okay, the Republican Guard. They somehow or other, it isn't hard to get
Quds Force
into this country. Huh?
It's the Quds Force, the
Quds.
Yeah.
Quds.
Right.
And so if you recall, several months ago, we talked about a report I saw on Fox News that there was this man somewhere in the age, let's just say in his 30s. He appeared to be in his 30s. And the Fox reporter, I'm not sure which one it was, asked him, "Who are you?" And he said, "It's none of your business." And he kept being asked the question. He said, "It's none of your business, but soon enough, you will know who I am." Well, that sounds a lot like either a militant Palestinian or an Iranian or even a Lebanese Hezbollah. So putting all these pieces together, if our theory were to prove correct, and that's another reason why people like you are so upset that we're not getting any details. It took how many hours to find out about Corey, who was killed protecting his family in the stand? I still don't know the full name of the second person who was shot, and I believe there was a third person shot, both of whom are in serious condition at this very moment in the hospital.
They were, those names were released. One guy was named Dutch, and then I forget the other guy's name.
Was their full name released? Because as of this moment, I wasn't aware of it. Anyway, so think about this.
But we don't know. Right, but we don't know where they were sitting, how many bullets were fired, where those bullets went, where they ended up.
Correct. And so if, again, this is all conjecture, if there was a second shooter and he was from Iran, the kid is coordinated with him, not personally, not directly, but the understanding between whoever it is in the deep state. I'm not saying Uncle Joe had anything to do with this. I'm not even saying Valerie Jarrett had anything to do with this. I'm just saying she put everything in place so it could happen. Okay? And so whoever's coordinating this told the handler from Iran to tell his guy, wait for the first shot. Tell him to take his shot after. So you hear the crack, and then rapid fire. Well, okay. So there's the first shot from the kid. Second, maybe third shot comes from the real attempting assassin. Okay. And that would explain, in my mind, better how this could have happened, because there's no way in God's green earth this kid was that good.
Right.
No way.
Right. Well, right. Well, we don't know for sure exactly what transpired, but we don't have the information either. So the point is, they're saying he fired 6 or 7 shots. I only hear 3 or 4 shots before you hear the rapid fire of the response. So
Right.
it doesn't really make much sense to me. Besides, I'm very skeptical of the whole other side of the property where there are all sorts of different buildings about the distance where a sniper would strike from. And we're talking more like 300, 400, 500 yards, which is more reasonable striking distance for a sniper. This kid's position was way too close. He trained apparently at a 200-yard range. That was supposedly 25 minutes from his house. He went and bought ammunition, only a 50-round box, which isn't a lot. We don't know if he had a scope. We don't know if he had a bipod. We don't know if he had a short magazine, which is you're going to need if you're shooting prone, because a 30-round won't allow you to level your rifle. So there are a lot of things we don't know, particularly I don't know about the ballistics, the trajectory of where the rounds went, how many rounds total were fired. We still haven't seen from law enforcement a picture of the assassin's rifle, which is unusual. And we don't know how many shots were fired by the Secret Service counter sniper team. Now we're being told there was only one counter sniper team. Originally, some news outlets reported there were two counter sniper teams, both on different barns behind the president. So the way the whole thing was planned and executed is very skeptical. And plus you have rally goers pointing at somebody who's visibly on a roof, and that's a distraction as well. It's very, seems very similar to what happened in Dallas and Dealey Plaza. They had people pointing supposedly at a rifle sticking out of a window of the book depository building. Any sniper would never stick his rifle out a window. You would shoot back from in cover. But we know that from JFK as well. So
that's right. That's right. Every sniper movie we've ever watched where they show the sniper setting up to get his shot, it is always undercover. You do not see a rifle in a window or sticking out a window. You never see that.
Right. But we had people pointing to that. And then, very strangely, and I talked about the yellow towels on Saturday, and I haven't really discussed them since, but you remember from the Zapruder film, the guy with the umbrella. Why was there a guy opening an umbrella just at the very time of the assassination of John F. Kennedy? Very strange.
To get out of the hot.
Maybe.
That.
Right. But Garrison alluded to in the JFK film that might have been a signal. And so I was looking for signals also, and I saw them. And then one guy who was dressed very much like a leftist, kind of like a hippie guy, he had a yellow towel in his jacket pocket, and he stood.
He was wearing black.
Right. He stood through the whole shooting. Why would you? I mean, everybody was hitting the deck, and this guy stood during the whole thing looking around. Very strange.
Right.
So it's worth, I mean, all these things are worth examining, but most particularly the ballistics, their trajectory, and I still don't know where the rally goers were shot. They were apparently in one of the bleachers, and in the most north bleacher, the flanked bleacher, where he would, with the kid, Crooks was shooting, and somebody said that, oh, the guy got in his way. Well, he was all the way on the left-hand side of that building, which would have given him a clear shot to Trump. How did he miss forward? Usually when you miss target, your shots go beyond the target, and you would hit somebody in the bleachers on the other side, flanking bleacher.
Right.
But we have people wounded closer to the shooter, which doesn't really make any sense. And apparently they weren't standing at the top of the bleacher. They were several rows down. What my information...
Now,
go ahead.
I want to add to your point, because not only do I agree with you 100% in how you're describing these things, the other thing to take into consideration is this. They're building this kid up to be a marksman right now.
Yeah.
So how could his first or second, I don't think it was I think the second is the one that caught Trump, certainly second or third.
According to the acoustics, yeah.
Right. Okay. If he was such a great shot, how in the world did those shots go so far out of whack?
Yeah.
Can't happen.
Well,
not if you're what everyone is telling you are. So it again, this leads to the theory that people like you and I have, and I always tip my hat to you when it comes to the knowledge of guns. I know the basics, but I'm not calling you an expert, but you certainly have more expert knowledge than I do. And everything you say makes complete sense.
Well, my biggest objection is the fact that the second shot supposedly was the best. And if you're shooting prone, your first shot is usually always the best. And if you're shooting in that sort of condition, we don't even know the exact condition he was shooting from, that how was the second shot the better shot? And then if he missed with the first shot, where did that round go?
Right.
People are saying that, that was the shot that hit the guy in the head. Was he that far off that he hit somebody in the foreground in the head and
yet still hit Trump in the ear?
Right, in the second shot. Right. And his shots came off boom, 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 boom. If that were him firing. So I don't know if he got to 6 to 8 shots, because at the fourth shot I heard the return fire, which was much more rapid. And we also have to understand is that if you did not see, the counter sniper team was firing suppressed. They had silencers, suppressors on their weapons. So why was their report almost as loud as the shooter? Was the shooter shooting suppressed? Do we know? So these are all questions that have to be answered and sooner than later, because right now the fact that the FBI destroyed or deleted the guy's discourse account, which is where he would have been communicating with somebody, but we'll never find that out. So the FBI is actually leading an operation to clean up any loose ends. You have any other comments on that? I'd like to move on to the RNC and a couple other topics.
The only other thing I want to add to your point is, and the FBI wants to know why we no longer trust them.
Yeah, well,
this is why.
You can go
Go ahead.
You could go.
I want you to finish your thought.
You can go all the way back to '93, where the FBI were involved in the first bombing of the World Trade Center. That's proven without a doubt. It's in the New York Times. They had an Egyptian army officer running the terrorists that were supposed to bomb, and he even recorded the conversation with the FBI, and his quote was, "We're going to put a fake bomb in the van, right?" And the FBI didn't answer, and then they removed the Egyptian army officer out of the operation, and they went ahead and bombed the World Trade Center. This is all proven. This is not speculative. So
correct.
Since that's 93, since then, we've had the Boston bombing. We had
before the Boston bombing, we had the Murrah building in Oklahoma City.
Right.
And I want to remind your viewers, what were Timothy McVeigh's last words before they injected him?
Yeah.
The American people would be shocked if they ever knew the truth.
The truth, right. Yeah, well, the truth was that they were, as the little old lady, the receptionist, I think it was for the ATF there in the Murrah Federal Building, I saw a man with sticks of gray butter. Planting them in the thing. So we have case after case after case going to the Boston bombing, and also a murder in your state of an associate of the Tsarnaev brothers who was murdered in his apartment building by the FBI, and nobody really talks about that either. But I don't want to digress too much. let's get back into the RNC. J.D. Vance, author, veteran, young 36-year-old family man, was picked for the vice presidential slot on the ticket. What are your feelings about J.D. Vance? I thought it's a good pick for somebody to carry the movement decades into the future. So what are your thoughts?
Well, it doesn't do me any good to pat myself on the back, but JD was the one of two names, and he was the number two. He wasn't the number one that was going to be selected. The other one was Burgum. And when my friend told me that it was just the two of them, and Trump was leaning to Burgum, I don't want to say why he ended up picking JD. He picked him for all the right reasons, but one of the reasons had to do with who inside the Republican Party was whispering in his ear and telling him, take Burgum, take Burgum, take Burgum. And that is someone who is not to be trusted. And that was the final straw in the back of the Burgum, and that's why JD, who was always, this is what I was told, JD was always there, number two. It came down to those two, and for the last month, it was only those two. But I couldn't say, I was sworn to secrecy. And I will tell you, I couldn't be happier. You just said it. He is the perfect pick. Number one, I am of the belief that, God forbid, Hair Club for Men decides he's willing to take one for the team and run as the VP on the ticket, regardless of where Kamala ends up. Kamala is not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about Gavin Newsom. Because Kamala is going to look worse than the moron she is when JD gets done with her. if she stays in the number two slot. If she stays in the number two slot, they're going to do everything they can to see to it there is no vice presidential debate, because he is going to explain to every single one of the 350 million every one of the 350 people, 50 million people living in this country, both citizen and non-citizen alike, why DEI has to go. Because that's the only reason why that woman ever ended up in the vice president's mansion. So there were only two people. There were only two people on the long list that would be that good against Gavin Newsom. One of them is the guy that got picked. The other one was Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
Because those two men, I watched how Vivek handled somebody earlier. I think it was yesterday, either before or right after the convention got officially underway. And he just buried that person. It was caught on camera, and he just said, and he was going down enumerating by using his fingers, ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. And that was the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
They had nowhere else to go.
Yeah, he had a great speech just a little while ago at the RNC.
He's going to be a great secretary.
Yep.
And imagine this. Imagine or if things worked out the way I want them to, and the 22nd Amendment gets tested, 8 years from now, you have JD, and right next to him is Vivek Ramaswamy, who they can now no longer say, well, he doesn't know anything about politics because he's never been in politics. Well, guess what? Neither was Trump, and Trump proved to be one of the greatest presidents in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
And he also has experience as a secretary, whether it's commerce, whether it's secretary of defense, intelligence. Put him anywhere, he's going to shine.
Yeah.
he's going to shine.
Well,
so
I'm
happy.
Yeah, and J.D. Vance is a great author. If anybody hasn't read Hillbilly Elegy, they should read it. It's his life story, so you'll get a good idea of him. I was going to ask you though, Perry. You kept pushing for for your governor to be on the ticket.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yep. Yep.
So what? You must be disappointed that Ron DeSantis is not on the ticket.
Here's the thing. Ron DeSantis is not a good debater. Trump is a better debater than DeSantis. DeSantis is every bit as good as Trump when it comes to policy and putting good people around him. So if I have to swallow a bitter pill because it's not my guy who got the number 2 pick, I couldn't be happier with JD.
Yeah.
JD Vance is going to carry us well into the last third of my life. I'm in my early 60s. He'll be vice president for at least 4 years, and then he'll have the opportunity to run for president. He is the perfect choice to carry on the Trumpian way of government. He is perfect. He is a true blue Trumpian.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. We need more people running for office with a populist thought process than all of these career mealy mouths who do what they're programmed to do, because they all, Republican and Democrat alike, they come out of that fakaktic nonsense school of government known as the Kennedy School of Government. Okay? They come out of Harvard with this degree in government, and we see what it's done to our country in the last 50 years.
Serve their corporate masters. Okay.
Bingo.
So I want to go on to a couple other quick things in the next 5 minutes or so. Elon Musk came out and endorsed Trump after the shooting. Then he announced that he is going to be funding a super PAC with $45 million a month until November. Addition to the war chest for Donald Trump. And apparently now he's moving SpaceX and X headquarters to Texas. So a couple comments on that, if you don't mind. And then I want to talk briefly on the Florida documents case that was dismissed.
Well, 3 points I want to make about Elon. Number one, and I know you don't necessarily like me throwing other podcasters' names out there, but Dan Bongino has a way of saying "fuck you" to the Democrats, and when he runs out of digits, he gets these statuettes of someone holding up the bird, so that he can put out not 2, but as many as 5 fuck yous to the Democrats and catch it on camera. And this is what Elon has just done to the Democrats. He has said to them, fuck you, fuck your party, fuck your mother, fuck your daddy, fuck your sister. I hate you. You have turned me into a Republican. I was apolitical, leaning a little left all my life. Now you can all go fuck yourselves, and I've got the money to do that. You hear that, Zuckerberg? Come on, let's dance. That's what he just said today.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And it's like they're hemorrhaging supporters left and right. So that's not surprising for me. I mean, you could go down the list from Tulsi Gabbard to many other Democrats who have left since 2016. And now with this assassination attempt, it seems like they were negligent. So a couple words on the Florida document case was dismissed by a Trumpy judge and appointed, I think it's Eileen Cannon was her name.
Correct.
And she's just ruled that it was unconstitutional to illegally appoint a private citizen to go after an ex-president. But What are your thoughts on
Well,
that?
she took the easy way. She took the easy way out. There were other reasons to dismiss the case, of which she had gone and enumerated each one of them. But a win is a win. I'm sorry that it took a Trumpian judge to do it, but it seems like the only judges that believe in following the law are conservative, originalist judges.
Right.
You know, Coney Barrett isn't even an originalist. Okay?
Don't get me started with her.
Well, I wanted to throw that out there because you do have liberals that listen to your show.
Right.
And I want them to know I'm looking for people when it comes to the bench. I want men and women on the bench that are going to look at the Constitution and make that the premise of whatever decision they make on any case. I don't want to hear another fucking justice like Stephen Breyer tell me, well, it's a living document. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Do you think the framers of the Constitution said, you know, this Second Amendment thing and this First Amendment thing, we got to give future justices the opportunity to rule on whether or not people literally have the freedom to say whatever they want, because we don't know what the future is going to be.
Yeah.
Do you really think the framers of the Constitution said that?
No.
Come on.
It's hermetically sealed for a reason. That's to keep out.
That's right.
That's to keep out the living organisms.
You know something, Rudy? You ought to put that up as a meme on your show.
Yeah.
There's a reason why it's under glass and can't be touched.
Yeah. That's the
And
reason.
it ain't just to keep dust off it.
It's to keep it from living. Exactly.
Right.
Well, I appreciate that, Perry. We're going to close out here. Any last parting words?
I've got so much more I want to say, so we'll have to save it for next time.
Yeah.
I'm just really, really excited. I'm elated that Donald Trump is safe, and I'm thrilled that I'll be able to call J.D. Vance my vice president. I can't wait for these two to roll up their sleeves and get working.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot going on before August, and then before November, there's going to be a lot going on.
Well, we got a country to save.
Yeah, we have a country to save, but the elite and the powers that be, the evil cabal, are going to be throwing blocks in our way, so it's going to get tumultuous. So keep your powder dry, and I'll see you next week, brother.
That's the plan. All right, Rudy, thanks again. It was a great conversation tonight, and I can't wait for us to go hot mic again.
All right. See you next week.
All right. Take care, buddy.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you later. Bye. There goes Perry. Episode 83, Tuesdays with Perry, who covered a lot there. Talking about this assassination attempt. It just... something's rotten in the state of Denmark there. There's no doubt about it. What it all means, it's really hard to say. But the kid was obviously let in, was let up there, and wasn't taken out in a timely manner. So whether there was a second shooter, we don't know. There was some odd things going on there. But we won't start getting, we don't really care about the kid as much as we care about the facts, which how many bullets were fired, where they went, and those things will start to lend themselves to the truth. So that's what we want to find out. Also, I'm very happy for J.D. Vance. He was my pick. I was leaning a little bit towards Tulsi Gabbard, but I wasn't sure about her. And it's good to see Elon Musk is finally on the side of the truth. He's done a lot. People weren't sure about him, but he's putting his money where his mouth is, so it's good to see. All right, thanks for everybody joining us, Perry and I, tonight. Episode 83 with Tuesdays with Perry. Join me tomorrow, Rudy's Revelation. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.